This video is for educational purposes only. Consult your healthcare provider with any health concerns. Benefits of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, IF, has gained considerable attention in recent years, attracting individuals seeking effective ways to manage their weight and enhance overall health. One of the most compelling benefits of intermittent fasting is its potential to aid in weight loss and fat reduction. By restricting the eating window, many people naturally consume fewer calories, which can lead to a caloric deficit essential for weight loss. Furthermore, during the fasting periods, the body shifts from using glucose as its primary energy source to burning fat, facilitating fat loss while preserving muscle mass. Another significant benefit is the improvement in metabolic health. IF has been shown to enhance insulin sensitivity, allowing the body to utilize glucose more effectively. Improved insulin sensitivity not only helps in managing weight, but also reduces the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Additionally, intermittent fasting promotes cellular repair processes. During fasting, cells initiate autophagy, a process where they remove damaged components and regenerate, which can lead to better cellular function and longevity. This rejuvenation at the cellular level may contribute to the prevention of various diseases, including cancer and neurodegenerative disorders. Moreover, intermittent fasting has been linked to improved heart health. Studies indicate that IF can lead to reductions in blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and triglycerides, all of which are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. By enhancing these markers of heart health, intermittent fasting can potentially extend lifespan and promote better overall well-being. Mental clarity and cognitive function are also positively impacted by intermittent fasting. Many individuals report heightened focus and improved mental clarity during fasting periods, which may be attributed to increased levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein linked to cognitive function and the growth of new neurons. This boost in mental acuity can be particularly beneficial in today's fast-paced, demanding environments. Additionally, intermittent fasting may promote longevity. Research in animal studies has indicated that caloric restriction and fasting can extend lifespan, and while more research is needed in humans, the biological mechanisms at play suggest that fasting could have similar effects. Furthermore, it encourages healthier eating habits. Individuals often become more mindful about their food choices, prioritizing nutrient-dense foods during their eating windows. This conscious approach to eating can lead to better nutrition overall, further supporting weight loss and health improvements. The social aspect of intermittent fasting can also foster a sense of community and accountability among those who practice it. Many people find support through online groups, social media, or local meetups, which can enhance motivation and provide a sense of belonging. Another noteworthy advantage is the simplicity of intermittent fasting. It doesn't require complex meal planning or counting calories, making it an accessible option for many. Individuals can choose a method that fits their lifestyle, whether it's the 16/8 method, the 5-2 diet, or alternate day fasting. This flexibility allows people to integrate intermittent fasting into their daily lives with relative ease. Moreover, research suggests that intermittent fasting may have positive effects on gut health. Fasting periods can promote a diverse microbiome, which is essential for optimal digestion and immune function. A healthy gut microbiome can lead to improved nutrient absorption, reduced inflammation, and enhanced metabolic processes, all contributing to overall health. Additionally, intermittent fasting has been associated with a decrease in inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a known contributor to various diseases, including heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. By reducing inflammation markers in the body, intermittent fasting may help mitigate the risks associated with these conditions. Lastly, the psychological benefits of intermittent fasting should not be overlooked. Many practitioners report feeling a greater sense of control over their eating habits, leading to improved mental well-being. This sense of empowerment can enhance self-esteem and foster a positive relationship with food. In summary, the benefits of intermittent fasting extend far beyond weight loss. From improved metabolic health and enhanced cellular repair to better heart health and cognitive function, intermittent fasting presents a holistic approach to well-being. Its simplicity, flexibility, and potential for fostering healthier eating habits make it an appealing option for many individuals looking to improve their health and quality of life. As with any dietary approach, it is important for individuals to consult with healthcare professionals before starting intermittent fasting, especially those with pre-existing health conditions. With the right guidance, intermittent fasting can be a powerful tool for achieving better health and longevity. Definition of intermittent fasting. IF. Intermittent fasting, IF, is an eating pattern that alternates between periods of eating and fasting, and it has gained significant popularity in recent years due to its potential health benefits and flexibility. Unlike traditional diets that focus on what foods to eat, intermittent fasting primarily emphasizes when to eat, making it less about calorie restriction and more about time management. There are various methods of intermittent fasting, each with its own unique approach to structuring eating and fasting windows. One of the most popular methods is the 16/8 method, where individuals fast for 16 hours each day and eat within an 8-hour window. This might involve skipping breakfast, having the first meal at noon, and finishing the last meal by 8 p.m. Another common approach is the 5-2 diet, which allows individuals to eat normally for 5 days of the week while significantly reducing caloric intake to around 500 to 600 calories on 2 non-consecutive days. Some people adopt alternate day fasting, which entails alternating between days of regular eating and days of fasting, sometimes consuming very few calories on fasting days. There's also the Eat Stop Eat method, which involves fasting for a full 24 hours once or twice a week. This variety allows individuals to choose a fasting schedule that best fits their lifestyle and preferences, making it more sustainable for long-term adherence. Research suggests that intermittent fasting may have a range of health benefits, including improved metabolic health, weight loss, and potential longevity effects. During fasting periods, the body undergoes various physiological changes. Insulin levels drop, facilitating fat burning, and human growth hormone levels increase, which can aid muscle preservation and fat loss. Some studies indicate that IF may improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and promote cellular repair processes like autophagy, where the body cleans out damaged cells and regenerates new ones. Moreover, intermittent fasting has been linked to improved brain health, with some research suggesting that it may enhance cognitive function and reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. This is thought to be related to increased brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports neuron growth and function. Additionally, intermittent fasting can be a practical approach for many, as it does not require the intricate meal planning that some traditional diets necessitate. Many find that they naturally consume fewer calories when they restrict their eating windows, leading to weight loss without the need for counting calories. However, it's essential to approach intermittent fasting with an awareness of individual health needs, as it may not be suitable for everyone. Certain populations, such as pregnant or breastfeeding women, individuals with a history of eating disorders, or those with specific health conditions like diabetes, should consult healthcare professionals before starting any fasting regimen. While many people report positive experiences with intermittent fasting, including increased energy levels and improved focus during fasting periods, others may find it challenging, particularly during the initial adjustment phase. Side effects such as hunger, fatigue, and irritability can occur, but these often diminish as the body adapts to the new eating pattern. Hydration remains crucial during fasting, as drinking water, herbal teas, or black coffee can help stave off hunger and keep the body functioning optimally. It's important to emphasize that intermittent fasting is not a magic bullet for weight loss or health improvement. It works best in conjunction with a balanced diet rich in whole foods, including fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains. The quality of food consumed during eating periods significantly impacts overall health outcomes, so while the timing of eating is important in IF, so too is the nutritional quality of the meals. As interest in intermittent fasting continues to grow, more research is being conducted to understand its long-term effects and the mechanisms behind its health benefits. Some recent studies have suggested that the timing of food intake might influence circadian rhythms, which could play a role in metabolism and overall health. This connection to circadian biology opens up new avenues for research and could lead to more personalized dietary recommendations based on individual lifestyle factors. Overall, the definition of intermittent fasting encompasses a variety of eating patterns that prioritize the timing of food intake, offering individuals flexibility and a potentially effective strategy for improving health. Whether for weight loss, metabolic health, or other benefits, intermittent fasting has emerged as a noteworthy approach in the landscape of nutrition and wellness. By understanding the principles of IF and exploring the various methods available, individuals can make informed decisions about whether this eating pattern aligns with their health goals and lifestyle preferences. As the body of research grows, it may become clearer how intermittent fasting can be integrated into broader dietary strategies for optimal health, offering new insights into the relationship between eating patterns and well-being. In conclusion, intermittent fasting represents a significant shift in how we think about eating and health, providing an alternative to conventional dieting and prompting individuals to consider not just what they eat but when they eat. This paradigm shift invites a broader discussion about lifestyle choices, nutrition, and the ways in which timing can influence metabolic processes, ultimately enriching our understanding of health and wellness. Health benefits. The health benefits of adopting a balanced lifestyle are manifold and profoundly impactful on both physical and mental well-being, serving as a foundation for longevity and quality of life. Engaging in regular physical activity is perhaps one of the most significant contributors to health, as it not only aids in maintaining a healthy weight, but also strengthens the cardiovascular system, improves muscular strength, and enhances flexibility. Moreover, exercise stimulates the release of endorphins, often referred to as feel-good hormones, which can significantly reduce stress, anxiety, and symptoms of depression. Additionally, a well-rounded diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats is crucial for providing the body with essential nutrients, which support immune function, promote healthy digestion, and reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. Foods rich in antioxidants, like berries and leafy greens, help combat oxidative stress and inflammation, further contributing to overall health. Hydration is another critical aspect of a balanced lifestyle. Adequate water intake supports metabolic processes, aids in detoxification, and enhances cognitive function. Furthermore, sleep plays a vital role in health, as restorative sleep is linked to improved concentration, emotional regulation, and immune resilience, while chronic sleep deprivation can lead to a host of health issues, including obesity and heart disease. Incorporating mindfulness practices such as meditation or yoga can also yield significant benefits. These practices promote mental clarity, emotional balance, and stress reduction, creating a holistic approach to well-being. Social connections and nurturing relationships are equally important. Strong social ties can enhance mental health, providing emotional support that is vital during times of stress or crisis. Additionally, engaging in meaningful activities and hobbies fosters a sense of purpose and fulfillment, which is essential for emotional well-being. Another critical component of a balanced lifestyle is routine health checkups, which allow for early detection and prevention of potential health issues, ensuring timely intervention and treatment. Balancing work and leisure is also crucial. Overworking can lead to burnout and chronic stress, while leisure activities can rejuvenate the mind and body. Ultimately, the synergistic effects of these elements create a robust framework for health, underscoring the importance of making conscious choices that support physical, mental, and emotional well-being. By prioritizing these aspects, individuals can cultivate a lifestyle that not only enhances their current health status, but also sets the stage for a vibrant, fulfilling life well into their later years, demonstrating that health is not merely the absence of illness, but a dynamic state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Weight loss and body composition. Weight loss and body composition are closely intertwined concepts that significantly impact health and wellness. Understanding these terms requires a look at how body composition, essentially the proportion of fat, muscle, bone, and other tissues in the body, plays a critical role in overall health and how weight loss can alter this composition. Weight loss is often pursued for various reasons, including aesthetic goals, health improvements, and enhanced physical performance. However, not all weight loss is created equal. The composition of what is lost can greatly influence long-term health outcomes. For instance, losing muscle mass, which often occurs during unstructured dieting or extreme caloric restriction, can lead to decreased metabolic rate, reduced strength, and diminished physical function, all of which can counteract the benefits typically associated with weight loss. Conversely, a well-structured weight loss plan that emphasizes the preservation of lean body mass, primarily through a combination of resistance training and adequate protein intake, can lead to a healthier body composition and improved metabolic health. Studies indicate that a body composition with a higher ratio of lean mass to fat mass can contribute to better insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation, and a decreased risk of chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular conditions. Moreover, the psychological aspects of weight loss and body composition cannot be overlooked. Societal pressures and personal perceptions about body image can significantly influence one's motivation and adherence to a weight loss regimen. Programs that focus on holistic wellness rather than just numbers on a scale may promote sustainable habits that prioritize overall health rather than temporary fixes. It is also essential to recognize that body composition varies widely among individuals based on genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. For example, two individuals may weigh the same but have drastically different body compositions, with one having a higher percentage of muscle mass while the other has more body fat. This highlights the importance of not solely relying on weight as an indicator of health. Body composition assessments, such as skin fold measurements, bioelectrical impedance analysis, or dual energy X-ray absorptiometry (DXA), can provide more nuanced insights into an individual's health status. Furthermore, weight loss strategies should be personalized, taking into account one's unique body composition, lifestyle, and goals. Sustainable weight loss often involves a balanced diet rich in whole foods, regular physical activity that includes both aerobic and strength training exercises, and behavioral modifications that foster a healthier relationship with food and body image. It's also worth mentioning the role of macronutrients in body composition. For example, protein is particularly crucial for muscle maintenance and repair during weight loss, while carbohydrates provide the necessary energy for workouts, and healthy fats support overall bodily functions. In the context of weight loss, creating a caloric deficit, where the calories consumed are less than the calories burned, is essential, but how this deficit is achieved can greatly influence body composition. Some individuals may benefit from intermittent fasting, while others might find success with a more traditional 3 meals a day approach. The timing of nutrient intake, meal frequency, and even the quality of calories can impact how effectively one loses fat while preserving muscle. Additionally, psychological factors such as stress and emotional eating can complicate the weight loss journey, making it essential to address mental well-being alongside physical goals. Developing a mindset that fosters resilience and a positive body image can help individuals navigate the inevitable ups and downs of their weight loss journey. Social support, whether through friends, family, or structured weight loss groups, can also provide the encouragement and accountability needed to stick with the plan. As individuals progress toward their weight loss goals, periodic assessments of body composition can help gauge the effectiveness of their strategies and guide necessary adjustments. It's crucial to view weight loss as a journey rather than a destination. The focus should be on creating lasting, healthy habits that promote a balanced lifestyle. Long-term success in weight loss and body composition involves understanding that it's not just about reaching a certain weight, but rather about achieving a healthier, more functional body. This often includes recognizing the importance of flexibility in dietary choices and acknowledging that occasional indulgences are part of a balanced life. Ultimately, the goal should be to cultivate a lifestyle that supports both mental and physical well-being, allowing individuals to thrive in their weight loss efforts while promoting a positive self-image and fostering a deep appreciation for their bodies. By prioritizing sustainable practices, individuals can achieve weight loss that enhances body composition and overall health, leading to a more fulfilling life. The journey of weight loss and body composition is personal, and what works for one person may not work for another. Therefore, it's essential to listen to one's body, respect its unique needs, and approach the journey with patience and self-compassion. In conclusion, weight loss and body composition are complex and multifaceted topics that require a comprehensive understanding to navigate successfully. By focusing on healthy habits, a balanced approach to nutrition and exercise, and fostering a positive mindset, individuals can achieve their weight loss goals while improving their overall health and well-being, creating a harmonious relationship with their bodies that extends far beyond the scale. Heart health benefits. Maintaining heart health is crucial for overall well-being, as the heart plays a central role in the circulatory system, supplying oxygen and nutrients to tissues while removing waste products. There are numerous heart health benefits associated with a balanced lifestyle that includes a nutritious diet, regular physical activity, and stress management. Firstly, a heart-healthy diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats can significantly reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Foods high in fiber, such as oats, legumes, and berries, can help lower cholesterol levels, while those rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like fatty fish, can reduce inflammation and lower blood pressure. Consuming a variety of antioxidants from colorful fruits and vegetables helps combat oxidative stress, a contributor to heart disease. Furthermore, reducing the intake of saturated and trans fats, added sugars, and sodium can prevent the buildup of plaque in arteries, thus improving overall heart function. Regular physical activity is another cornerstone of heart health. Engaging in at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise each week can strengthen the heart muscle, improve circulation, and help maintain a healthy weight. Activities such as walking, jogging, swimming, and cycling not only enhance cardiovascular endurance, but also promote the release of endorphins, which can reduce stress and improve mental well-being. Additionally, maintaining a healthy weight through diet and exercise can prevent conditions such as obesity and type 2 diabetes, both of which are risk factors for heart disease. Beyond diet and exercise, managing stress is essential for heart health. Chronic stress can lead to increased heart rate and blood pressure, contributing to long-term damage. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and deep breathing exercises can help alleviate stress and promote relaxation, leading to better heart health. Moreover, adequate sleep is often overlooked in discussions about heart health. Consistently getting enough restorative sleep is essential for overall health and has been linked to lower rates of heart disease. Smoking cessation is also vital, as tobacco use is a major risk factor for heart disease. Quitting smoking can improve heart health almost immediately, with benefits continuing to accrue over time. Regular health checkups are important for monitoring blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and other markers that can indicate heart health. Early detection and intervention can prevent serious complications. Engaging in social activities and maintaining strong social connections can also benefit heart health, as supportive relationships can reduce stress and encourage healthier lifestyle choices. In conclusion, the heart health benefits of a proactive lifestyle are profound, impacting not only the heart itself but overall quality of life. By prioritizing a balanced diet, staying active, managing stress, and avoiding harmful habits, individuals can significantly reduce their risk of heart disease and enhance their heart health for years to come. Autophagy explained. Autophagy, a crucial cellular process, plays a fundamental role in maintaining cellular health by degrading and recycling cellular components, thereby facilitating a variety of physiological functions and protecting against various diseases. The term autophagy originates from the Greek words auto, meaning self, and phagy, meaning eating, which together illustrate the process whereby cells essentially eat themselves to remove damaged or unnecessary components. This process occurs within specialized structures called autophagosomes, which engulf cellular debris, such as damaged organelles, misfolded proteins, and pathogens. Once formed, these autophagosomes fuse with lysosomes, which contain digestive enzymes that break down the engulfed material into basic building blocks, like amino acids, fatty acids, and nucleotides. These recycled components can then be reused by the cell for energy production, cellular repair, or the synthesis of new cellular structures, demonstrating how autophagy contributes to cellular homeostasis. Importantly, autophagy is not merely a housekeeping mechanism, it is intricately involved in various cellular signaling pathways and responses to stress. For instance, during periods of nutrient deprivation, autophagy is upregulated to provide the necessary resources for survival, allowing cells to adapt to changing environments. This adaptive response is vital in various physiological contexts, such as development, aging, and the immune response, underscoring the versatility of autophagy in managing cellular stressors. Furthermore, research has illuminated the role of autophagy in numerous diseases, including neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, where impaired autophagic activity can lead to the accumulation of toxic proteins and organelle dysfunction. Similarly, in cancer, autophagy has a dual role. While it can suppress tumor formation by removing damaged organelles and proteins that might promote oncogenesis, Some cancer cells exploit autophagy to survive in nutrient-poor environments, leading to resistance against chemotherapy. Thus, the context-dependent nature of autophagy presents both challenges and opportunities for therapeutic intervention. In recent years, the study of autophagy has gained significant attention, with researchers investigating various molecules and pathways that regulate this process, including mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, a key nutrient-sensing pathway that inhibits autophagy when nutrients are plentiful. Conversely, during stress conditions, autophagy is activated to promote cellular survival. Additionally, compounds like rapamycin, which inhibit mTOR, have been shown to enhance autophagy, further emphasizing its potential as a therapeutic target. Beyond its implications in disease, autophagy also has a profound impact on the aging process. Research suggests that enhancing autophagic activity can extend lifespan and improve health span, the period of life spent in good health, by mitigating the cellular damage that accumulates with age. This connection between autophagy and aging has led to a burgeoning interest in potential interventions, such as caloric restriction and pharmacological agents, aimed at boosting autophagy as a means of promoting longevity and delaying age-related diseases. In the realm of immunology, autophagy has emerged as a key player in the immune response, facilitating the elimination of pathogens and the presentation of antigens, thereby enhancing the adaptive immune response. This function underscores the importance of autophagy in host defense mechanisms and highlights its potential as a therapeutic target in infectious diseases and vaccine development. Furthermore, the interplay between autophagy and inflammation has garnered attention, as chronic inflammation can impair autophagic processes, contributing to various inflammatory diseases. By understanding and modulating autophagy, researchers aim to develop novel strategies for treating conditions such as autoimmune diseases and inflammatory disorders. In summary, autophagy is a multifaceted process that is indispensable for maintaining cellular homeostasis and responding to environmental challenges. Its involvement in various physiological processes and diseases underscores its significance in health and disease, prompting ongoing research to explore its therapeutic potential. By harnessing the power of autophagy, scientists aim to uncover new avenues for intervention in a wide array of conditions, ranging from neurodegenerative diseases and cancer to metabolic disorders and aging, ultimately contributing to improved health outcomes and enhanced quality of life. As our understanding of this dynamic process continues to evolve, the potential to manipulate autophagy for therapeutic benefits presents an exciting frontier in biomedical research, offering hope for novel treatments that leverage the innate ability of cells to recycle and rejuvenate themselves. Brain health. Brain health is a multifaceted concept that encompasses various aspects of cognitive function, emotional well-being, and overall neurological integrity, serving as a critical foundation for our daily lives and overall quality of life. At the core of brain health is the intricate network of neurons and synapses that facilitate communication within the brain, allowing for everything from basic motor skills to complex reasoning and problem-solving abilities. Maintaining brain health is essential not only for cognitive processes, but also for emotional regulation, memory retention, and the capacity to learn and adapt to new information. One of the primary contributors to brain health is lifestyle, which includes factors such as diet, exercise, sleep, and social interaction. Nutrition plays a vital role, as a balanced diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals can support neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Foods like fatty fish, berries, leafy greens, and nuts have been linked to improved cognitive function and a reduced risk of neurodegenerative diseases. Moreover, regular physical activity enhances blood flow to the brain, encourages the release of neurotrophic factors that promote neuronal growth, and has been associated with improved mood and reduced anxiety. Exercise is not just beneficial for physical health, it has profound implications for brain health, as studies show that aerobic activities can significantly enhance cognitive performance and may even reverse age-related declines in brain function. In addition to diet and exercise, adequate sleep is crucial for cognitive processes, as it allows the brain to consolidate memories and clear out toxins accumulated throughout the day. Chronic sleep deprivation can lead to cognitive impairments, mood disorders, and an increased risk of developing conditions such as Alzheimer's disease. Establishing good sleep hygiene, such as maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, creating a comfortable sleep environment, and minimizing screen time before bed can significantly contribute to better brain health. Furthermore, mental stimulation through lifelong learning and engaging in cognitively demanding activities is essential for maintaining cognitive function as we age. Activities such as reading, puzzles, learning new skills, and even playing musical instruments can enhance cognitive reserve, which is the brain's resilience to damage and decline. Social interaction also plays a crucial role in brain health. Maintaining strong social connections has been linked to lower risks of cognitive decline and dementia. Engaging in meaningful conversations, participating in group activities, and fostering relationships not only provide emotional support, but also stimulate cognitive engagement. The importance of managing stress cannot be overstated in the context of brain health. Chronic stress can lead to the release of cortisol, a hormone that, in excessive amounts, can have detrimental effects on brain structure and function, particularly in areas related to memory and emotional regulation. Practicing stress management techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, yoga, or even simple deep breathing exercises can help mitigate these effects and promote a healthier brain environment. Additionally, the role of mental health in brain health is increasingly recognized. Conditions such as depression and anxiety can have profound impacts on cognitive function and overall brain health. Seeking help when experiencing mental health issues and integrating therapeutic practices into daily life can create a positive feedback loop, enhancing both mental and cognitive well-being. Technology also plays a significant role in supporting brain health, offering a range of tools and applications designed to enhance cognitive function, facilitate learning, and promote mental well-being. Brain training games, meditation apps, and platforms for online learning can provide engaging ways to support and challenge the brain. However, it's essential to approach these tools critically, ensuring that they complement rather than replace real-world interactions and activities. Furthermore, understanding the genetic and environmental factors that contribute to brain health can empower individuals to take proactive steps in their own lives. While genetics can predispose individuals to certain neurological conditions, lifestyle choices can significantly influence outcomes. This interplay of genetic and environmental factors underscores the importance of adopting a holistic approach to brain health that incorporates various lifestyle elements. Public awareness campaigns and educational initiatives aimed at promoting brain health are increasingly vital in our society, given the rising prevalence of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Encouraging communities to adopt healthy lifestyle practices can create a culture that values and prioritizes brain health, ultimately leading to healthier populations and reduced healthcare costs associated with cognitive decline. In summary, brain health is a dynamic and integral aspect of overall health that involves a combination of lifestyle choices, mental well-being, social connections, and environmental influences. By prioritizing nutrition, physical activity, quality sleep, cognitive stimulation, and stress management, individuals can foster a healthier brain and improve their quality of life. As research continues to evolve, it is clear that the strategies for enhancing brain health are not only beneficial for aging populations, but can also be adopted by individuals of all ages, promoting lifelong cognitive vitality and emotional resilience. Digestive health. Digestive health is a vital aspect of overall well-being, influencing not only how we process and absorb nutrients, but also impacting our immune system, mental health, and energy levels. The digestive system, comprising organs such as the stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder, works intricately to break down food, extract essential nutrients, and eliminate waste. A balanced diet rich in fiber, probiotics, and hydration plays a crucial role in maintaining this system, as fiber aids in regular bowel movements, while probiotics contribute beneficial bacteria that support gut health. The gut microbiome, a complex community of microorganisms residing in the digestive tract, is particularly significant. It not only helps in digestion, but also affects metabolic processes, immunity, and even mood regulation through the gut-brain axis. For instance, studies have shown that a healthy microbiome can reduce inflammation and the risk of chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Conversely, an imbalanced microbiome, often caused by factors like poor diet, stress, antibiotic use, and lack of physical activity can lead to digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, and other gastrointestinal issues. To promote digestive health, it is essential to adopt a lifestyle that includes regular physical activity, adequate hydration, and mindful eating practices. Incorporating a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins into the diet can provide the necessary nutrients and support gut flora diversity. Moreover, it's important to recognize the role of stress in digestive health. Chronic stress can lead to conditions like heartburn and indigestion, as well as exacerbate existing digestive issues. Mindfulness techniques, such as yoga and meditation, can be effective in managing stress levels, ultimately benefiting digestive function. Hydration is another critical element, as water aids in the breakdown of food and absorption of nutrients, helping to prevent constipation and other digestive discomforts. Additionally, it's vital to be aware of food intolerances or sensitivities, which can disrupt digestion and lead to uncomfortable symptoms. Keeping a food diary can help identify patterns in trigger foods, allowing individuals to make informed dietary choices. Furthermore, sleep quality should not be overlooked. Poor sleep can negatively impact gut health and exacerbate digestive issues. Establishing a regular sleep routine and creating a restful environment can enhance overall health, including digestive function. Lastly, regular checkups with healthcare professionals can help monitor digestive health, allowing for early intervention in case of developing issues. By prioritizing these aspects, individuals can significantly enhance their digestive health, leading to improved quality of life and greater overall wellness. Gut health benefits. Fast food has become a ubiquitous part of modern life, offering convenience and speed for those with busy schedules. However, its effects on gut health are complex and multifaceted, warranting a closer examination. While traditional views often focus on the negative impacts of fast food, such as high levels of unhealthy fats, sugars, and sodium, it's essential to consider the potential benefits some fast food options might offer in the context of gut health. Firstly, it is important to recognize that the gut microbiome, the community of trillions of microorganisms residing in our digestive tract, plays a crucial role in overall health, influencing everything from digestion to immune function and even mood regulation. A diet rich in diverse, fiber-containing foods supports a healthy microbiome, while a diet high in processed foods, often synonymous with fast food, can lead to a less diverse microbiome and associated health issues. However, in recent years, some fast food chains have made strides towards healthier offerings, incorporating ingredients that may positively influence gut health. For instance, certain fast food restaurants now feature salads, grain bowls, and smoothies that include prebiotic fibers and probiotics, which can support gut health by promoting the growth of beneficial bacteria. Prebiotic fibers, found in ingredients like bananas and whole grains, serve as food for these bacteria, potentially enhancing gut microbiota diversity. Probiotics, on the other hand, are live bacteria that can provide health benefits when consumed in adequate amounts, often found in fermented foods like yogurt, which some fast food outlets have begun to include in their menus. The availability of these healthier options presents an opportunity for individuals seeking convenience without entirely sacrificing gut health. Moreover, there is an emerging body of research suggesting that occasional consumption of fast food, particularly when balanced with a predominantly healthy diet, may not be as detrimental as previously thought. Some studies indicate that the impact of fast food on gut health can vary based on individual dietary patterns, lifestyle factors, and even genetic predispositions. For instance, a person with a predominantly plant-based diet may experience fewer adverse effects from occasional fast food indulgence compared to someone whose daily diet consists mainly of processed foods. This underscores the importance of context in dietary choices and highlights that moderation can play a critical role in maintaining gut health. Additionally, the psychological aspect of enjoying fast food, often associated with comfort and socialization, cannot be overlooked. Stress and emotional well-being are closely linked to gut health, with studies showing that the gut-brain axis can influence both digestion and mental health. Enjoying a fast food meal in a relaxed setting with friends or family might provide emotional benefits that contribute positively to overall gut health. However, it is crucial to acknowledge that regular consumption of fast food can lead to a range of issues, such as dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in the gut microbiota that can lead to digestive problems, inflammation, and other health concerns. The high fat and sugar content often found in fast food can promote the growth of harmful bacteria while suppressing beneficial ones, leading to a less resilient microbiome. Furthermore, additives and preservatives commonly used in fast food may negatively impact gut health by altering the gut environment or affecting microbial composition. Therefore, while there are some potential benefits to be found in certain fast food options, it is essential for individuals to be discerning and make informed choices that prioritize gut health. Incorporating fast food into a balanced diet, where nutrient-dense foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins are the foundation, can help mitigate the adverse effects of fast food consumption. This approach allows for the occasional indulgence while still providing the body with the necessary nutrients to maintain a healthy microbiome. It is also worth noting that the trend towards healthier fast food options may reflect a broader shift in consumer demand for better nutrition. As awareness of gut health and its implications for overall well-being grows, fast food chains are increasingly responding by improving their menus. This shift not only allows consumers to make healthier choices when opting for fast food, but also encourages a more mindful approach to eating out. In conclusion, while the effects of fast food on gut health are primarily negative due to its potential to disrupt microbiota balance and contribute to inflammation, there are nuances worth exploring. Certain healthier fast food options can offer benefits, especially when integrated into a balanced diet. The key lies in moderation, making informed choices, and recognizing the importance of a diverse and fiber-rich diet in supporting gut health. As the landscape of fast food continues to evolve, there is hope for a future where convenience does not have to come at the expense of health, and where individuals can enjoy fast food as part of a holistic approach to maintaining their well-being. Ultimately, fostering a positive relationship with food, understanding its effects on the body, and making conscious choices are essential steps toward promoting optimal gut health in an increasingly fast-paced world. Intermittent fasting, IF, is a dietary approach that alternates between periods of eating and fasting. Unlike traditional diets that focus on what to eat, IF emphasizes when to eat, offering a flexible way to improve health and manage weight. Historically, fasting has been practiced across various cultures and religions, often as a means of spiritual reflection and discipline. Simplifies meal planning and promotes discipline, a path to health and efficiency. In today's fast-paced world, where time is a precious commodity and life often seems to be in constant motion, meal planning can become a daunting and often overlooked task. However, it is one of the most effective strategies to foster a healthy lifestyle and maintain personal discipline. The process of meal planning not only simplifies decisions around food, but also cultivates discipline in various aspects of life, such as financial management, health, time organization, and even mental well-being. When meal planning is integrated into one's routine, it paves the way for efficiency, mindful eating, and improved overall health, while also promoting a disciplined lifestyle that transcends the boundaries of just food preparation. This exploration delves into how simplifying meal planning and promoting discipline intertwine to create a structured, balanced, and fulfilling life. Simplifying meal planning, a tool for efficiency. At its core, meal planning is the process of deciding what to eat ahead of time, ensuring that all ingredients are accounted for, and mapping out the week's meals in advance. This approach removes the stress and spontaneity that often come with last-minute decisions, especially when hunger strikes and time is limited. Instead of scrambling to figure out what to eat or resorting to unhealthy fast food options, a well-executed meal plan offers a predetermined menu that simplifies the entire process. One of the primary benefits of simplifying meal planning is the time it saves. People often underestimate how much time they spend thinking about food, from deciding what to eat to preparing meals. When meal planning is in place, it streamlines grocery shopping, eliminates the need for daily decision-making, and cuts down on food waste. By setting aside one day a week to plan meals and shop for the necessary ingredients, the rest of the week becomes far more organized. This structure allows individuals to be more efficient in other areas of life, as the mental energy otherwise spent on food decisions can be redirected towards work, personal growth, or relaxation. Moreover, Meal planning simplifies food preparation by encouraging batch cooking and meal prepping. Many who adopt meal planning find that they can prepare several meals at once, saving them from the hassle of cooking multiple times throughout the week. This not only frees up time, but also ensures that healthy, home-cooked meals are readily available, reducing the temptation to order takeout or rely on convenience foods that are often less nutritious. Additionally, batch cooking promotes portion control, as meals are pre-portioned, ensuring that individuals stick to healthy serving sizes. Simplifying meal planning also introduces a level of financial discipline. Without a plan, impulse buys and frequent grocery runs can lead to overspending. Meal planning allows individuals to create shopping lists that focus solely on what is necessary for the week, preventing unnecessary purchases. Over time, this practice can lead to significant savings, as buying in bulk and cooking at home is generally more cost-effective than eating out or purchasing pre-packaged foods. In this way, meal planning not only contributes to physical health, but also promotes financial well-being. Promoting discipline through meal planning. While simplifying meal planning offers numerous practical benefits, its greatest gift lies in how it fosters discipline. In many ways, meal planning acts as a form of self-regulation, requiring individuals to think ahead, make deliberate choices, and follow through with a plan. This process of commitment and follow-through is a cornerstone of discipline, teaching individuals to set goals and work towards them with intention. One key aspect of this discipline is consistency. Meal planning encourages people to develop a routine around their eating habits, which can have profound effects on both physical and mental health. Consistency in meal timing and food choices helps to stabilize blood sugar levels, regulate metabolism, and prevent overeating. It also ensures that individuals are consuming balanced meals with appropriate portions, which can lead to better weight management and overall health outcomes. Beyond physical health, the routine of meal planning fosters a sense of control and predictability, which can reduce stress and anxiety around food choices. Furthermore, the discipline gained through meal planning can extend to other areas of life. The act of planning meals requires foresight, organization, and time management skills, all of which are transferable to other aspects of daily living. For instance, someone who has mastered the art of meal planning may find it easier to stick to a workout regimen, manage their finances, or organize their work schedule. In addition to promoting discipline in daily habits, meal planning encourages mindful eating. When meals are planned and prepared in advance, individuals are more likely to make conscious, healthy choices rather than succumbing to impulse eating. Meal planning often involves selecting nutrient-dense foods and ensuring that meals are well balanced with protein, vegetables, and healthy fats. This level of mindfulness not only promotes better nutrition, but also fosters a deeper connection to the food one consumes. By being intentional about food choices, individuals can better appreciate the nourishment they are providing their bodies, leading to a healthier relationship with food. Discipline through meal planning also supports long-term health goals. Whether someone is aiming to lose weight, gain muscle, or simply maintain a balanced diet, having a plan in place ensures that progress is steady and consistent. Without a meal plan, it can be easy to veer off course, leading to setbacks in achieving health goals. However, when meals are pre-planned and prepped, there is less room for deviation, and individuals are more likely to stay on track. This sense of discipline and consistency is key to achieving and maintaining long-term health outcomes. Challenges in meal planning and building discipline. While meal planning has clear benefits, it is not without its challenges. One of the most common obstacles people face is finding the time to plan and prepare meals. However, the key to overcoming this challenge lies in viewing meal planning as an investment in one's health and well-being. By dedicating a few hours each week to plan and prepare meals, individuals can save time and reduce stress in the long run. Additionally, many find that the more they engage in meal planning, the easier it becomes as they develop a repertoire of go-to recipes and a routine around food preparation. Another challenge is the perception that meal planning can be restrictive or boring. To combat this, it is important to incorporate variety into meal plans, experimenting with different cuisines, ingredients, and cooking methods. Meal planning does not have to be monotonous. In fact, it can be an opportunity to explore new foods and recipes, which can make the process more enjoyable and sustainable. Finally, maintaining discipline in meal planning requires flexibility and the ability to adapt. Life is unpredictable, and there may be times when plans need to change due to unexpected events. In these instances, it is important to have backup options, such as healthy snacks or quick, easy meals that can be prepared in a pinch. Being adaptable while maintaining a commitment to healthy eating is a hallmark of discipline, and over time, this flexibility will strengthen one's ability to stay on track, even when faced with challenges. Simplifying meal planning and promoting discipline go hand in hand, creating a structured approach to eating that fosters health, efficiency, and personal growth. By investing time in planning and preparing meals, individuals can streamline their daily routines, reduce stress, and ensure that they are nourishing their bodies with wholesome, balanced meals. Moreover, the discipline gained through meal planning extends beyond the kitchen, fostering consistency, mindfulness, and goal-oriented behavior in other areas of life. Ultimately, meal planning is not just about food. It is a tool for cultivating a more organized, intentional, and fulfilling life. Fasting blood sugar control. An overview. Fasting blood sugar control is a critical aspect of maintaining overall health, especially for individuals with diabetes or prediabetes. Blood sugar, or glucose, is the primary source of energy for the body's cells, and it is regulated by insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas. The body's ability to manage blood sugar levels is vital for ensuring the normal function of various organs and systems, including the heart, brain, and muscles. When fasting blood sugar levels are consistently high, it can lead to complications, including the development of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and other metabolic disorders. On the other hand, maintaining normal fasting blood sugar levels can prevent these health issues and promote longevity. What is fasting blood sugar? Fasting blood sugar refers to the level of glucose in the bloodstream after an individual has not eaten for at least 8 hours, typically measured in the morning before breakfast. This measurement gives a clear indication of how the body manages glucose in the absence of dietary intake. For non-diabetic individuals, fasting blood sugar levels usually range between 70 to 100 milligrams per deciliter (mg/dl). A fasting blood sugar level between 100 and 125 milligrams/dl is considered an indication of prediabetes, while a level of 126 milligrams/dl or higher is diagnostic of diabetes. Importance of blood sugar control. Maintaining optimal fasting blood sugar levels is essential for several reasons. First and foremost, it helps prevent the onset of diabetes and its associated complications, such as heart disease, nerve damage, kidney failure, and vision problems. High fasting blood sugar levels, or hyperglycemia, over an extended period can lead to insulin resistance, where the body's cells no longer respond effectively to insulin. As a result, glucose accumulates in the bloodstream, leading to chronic high blood sugar levels. On the flip side, consistently low blood sugar levels, or hypoglycemia, can cause symptoms such as dizziness, confusion, weakness, and in severe cases, loss of consciousness. Another important reason for controlling fasting blood sugar is its impact on overall metabolic health. Elevated blood sugar levels can cause inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which are linked to a range of chronic diseases, including cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and cardiovascular conditions. By keeping blood sugar levels within a healthy range, individuals can reduce their risk of developing these diseases and improve their overall quality of life. Factors affecting fasting blood sugar levels. Several factors influence fasting blood sugar levels, including diet, physical activity, stress, sleep, and underlying health conditions. Understanding these factors can help individuals manage their fasting blood sugar more effectively. The type of food consumed plays a significant role in regulating blood sugar levels. Diets high in refined carbohydrates and sugars can lead to rapid spikes in blood glucose, followed by crashes that affect fasting levels. On the other hand, a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats helps stabilize blood sugar levels. Fiber, in particular, slows down the absorption of glucose, preventing rapid increases in blood sugar. Regular exercise enhances the body's ability to use insulin efficiently, promoting better blood sugar control. During physical activity, muscles use glucose for energy, which helps lower blood sugar levels. Both aerobic exercises, like walking or swimming, and resistance training, such as weightlifting, are beneficial for managing blood sugar. Poor sleep or inconsistent sleep patterns can disrupt hormonal regulation, including the hormones involved in blood sugar control. Studies have shown that insufficient sleep is linked to higher fasting blood sugar levels and an increased risk of developing insulin resistance. Stress triggers the release of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which can cause blood sugar levels to rise. Chronic stress may lead to prolonged periods of elevated blood sugar, making it harder to manage fasting levels. Certain medical conditions, such as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, and metabolic syndrome, can affect insulin sensitivity and lead to higher fasting blood sugar levels. Additionally, some medications, like corticosteroids and beta blockers, may interfere with blood sugar regulation. Strategies for maintaining healthy fasting blood sugar levels. There are several effective strategies for managing fasting blood sugar levels. These include dietary changes, lifestyle modifications, and in some cases, medication. Adopting a balanced diet that focuses on whole foods can significantly improve blood sugar control. It's important to reduce the intake of processed foods, sugary snacks, and sugary beverages, which cause blood sugar spikes. Instead, focus on foods with a low glycemic index, GI, such as vegetables, legumes, nuts, and lean proteins, as these are digested more slowly and have a gentler effect on blood sugar levels. Eating regular meals and snacks throughout the day can also help prevent dramatic fluctuations in blood sugar. Incorporating physical activity into daily routines is one of the most effective ways to manage fasting blood sugar levels.